Hi there, did you know that I wasn't always a country girl? I once worked a corporate job, but now I'm living a country lifestyle. I thought I would share with you today my journey on how I got here. I was born in Montana, but that doesn't mean that I was born a country bumpkin. We lived in a university town, and both of my parents had their PhDs and worked in education. My mom did not can or preserve. There was no cows or chickens in our backyard. We lived in town. That homesteading lifestyle was not a part of my upbringing at all. So when I went to college, I went to a university in Washington State. And after college, I wasn't ready to come back to Montana. I lived and traveled in the north, in the south, east coast to west coast. I felt so alive in the city. I felt like I was part of the world and conquering the world, and a country lifestyle was not something that interests me whatsoever at that time in my life. However, the mountains did start calling my name, and I was living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. And when I decided to heed the call back to the mountains, I rented a moving truck and towed my 4Runner behind and drove it solo from Atlanta, Georgia to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Jackson Hole was just what I was looking for at that time in my life. I was in my late 20s now, and I was still hungry for adventure, excitement, thrill, adrenaline. Quiet country living was definitely not on the radar. I got into rock climbing, mountain climbing, and snowboarding. This was a really exciting time of my life. However, it wasn't satisfying the unsettledness within me, and I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew something wasn't in alignment. I felt like my Jackson phase, which was several years, was coming to a close, and I was ready to come back to Montana. Now, I still wasn't thinking of country living. I lived in a condo in the city. And with my skill set, it was in computers, which is a lot of hours sitting behind a desk in an office indoors. So, fast forward a few more years, I landed an upper management job with a company in Chicago. And this company had an annual revenue of about 30 to 50 million a year. So they weren't a small shop. So I worked remotely in Montana, but also commuted to the Chicago offices as well as various other cities in the country for corporate meetings and agendas, and flew on the company jet. And I worked alongside with the CEO, the CFO, and the president. And then there was me. So the first 6 months of the job, I was working 80 plus hours a week, 7 days a week, and didn't take one day off, not even a half day. And this was going to set the tone of the years to come. So I gave everything I had to this job. And the more I gave, the more the company took. And I don't put it on any one person as it's somebody's fault. The people I worked with were nothing less than respectful to me at all times. I just think that the corporate world is a machine of its own. And if you're going to be a part of that machine, it's going to just do what it does. And what it does is it takes. And I don't really think it knows how to do anything other than that. So as I gave and I gave and I gave, the more it took and it took and it took. And then even when I didn't want to give that much anymore, that didn't matter. The demand for all of me was there, non-relinquishing all the time. And I gave it. I wanted to tell myself that I was trying to live a balanced life, but in all honesty, there was no balance. The job had 98% of me, and my family got the remaining 2% of me that was tired, frayed, exhausted, and cranky. That's what my family got. And then my job got the best of me. I was totally out of stock mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. My adrenals were busted out. My brain was fatigued. I wasn't sleeping. I just felt so out of control. And I hadn't yet figured out that I could take the wheel back. So one year, my niece was graduating from high school, and all the family was just coming in from near and far to celebrate the event. It was going to be like this big family reunion over a long weekend. And for my husband and I, it was going to be about a 6-hour drive. So I told my husband to go without me, and I stayed home to work. So 2 to 3 weeks later, my father-in-law, who was at the family reunion, died unexpectedly and suddenly of a heart aneurysm. What a blessing that he got to be with his children and his grandchildren and his family so recently before he passed. Everyone was there except for me, because I chose to give everything I had to the corporate machine instead of to the people that I loved. I had spent years of my life trying to please people that I didn't love and who didn't love me. My life was just passing me by, under my feet, and behind me into the abyss. So the turning point happened on one of my trips to Chicago. And a coworker of mine was telling me a story about a family friend of theirs who died of cancer. And this story was about to change the course of my life. So this family friend of his that died of cancer was an older man, very wealthy, and had lived his entire adult life in the corporate lifestyle. During the last few months of his life, he began liquidating all these assets that once meant so much to him. Things like his cars, his houses, his Rolex watches. And when he was asked why he was doing this was his answer. Because when I'm laying in my bed, taking my final breaths, I'm not going to ask for my Porsche to be brought in so that I can say goodbye to it. That was it. That was like an arrow through my shoulder. And it made me think and ask myself, if I were in those shoes, would I be saying, I wish I had worked longer hours. I wish I had skipped that birthday party so I could have worked instead. I wish I had missed out on more time with my family. So my husband and I, we sold our condo in the city and we bought a distressed 5-acre property out in the country. And neither of us had any experience or knowledge on how to rehab a property, how to renovate a home, how to grow a huge garden and preserve foods. I don't even think at this time I have ever even heard of fermenting, something I'm really passionate about now. And the what's next plan wasn't really known. I knew this was the right road because I felt in the depths of my soul that it was leading to life, where the other path I was on was leading to death. So with a lot of courage and faith, we took the steps forward. There were a lot of challenges, and one of the biggest challenges was financial. We went through some extremely financially lean times. Hard times, my friends, hard times. But I still knew that this was the right way because slowly and surely I was getting me back. As I'm approaching 50, I don't look back at my life and think that my best years have gone. And I don't look to my future hoping my best years will come like I once did. I am finally at a place where I know in that my best time is now. And it was a process to get here, not an event. I am living my dream life exactly the way I want it to be, with such peace in my heart. So I totally get that this is not everybody's dream. I truly hope that you answer your dream that's calling your name, and that you find the courage to take the needed steps to make it happen.